Greetings. This video we are still continuing with our major topic, which is research report writing. And previously we started looking on the fourth subtopic under this main topic that we're looking at. So in the previous video we started looking at how to identify or how to come up with a search problem, and went through a number of steps. And by the time we stopped, we are just finished at looking at what makes a good research problem, a good research question. Now in this video we're going to continue and look at what makes a strong research question, as we shall be proceeding to the end. So to get started, so we are going to look at what makes a strong research question. So writing a question in itself, it isn't a difficult task, but it can be hard to work out if you have a good research question. Research questions anchor your whole project, so it is important to spend some time refining them. So the criteria that we are going to look at will help you evaluate the strength of your research question. So we are going to look at some criteria that you can use to test or evaluate the strength of your research question, and eventually to come up with a strong research question. So first of all, they are not very new. You will find that some of them will be like what we looked at previously, that it is important. So first of all, your research question has to be focused and researchable. So focused in a way that it focuses on a single topic and problem. So your central research question should follow from your research problem to keep your work focused. And if you have multiple questions, they should all clearly relate to that central aim. Like we discovered previously, from the research problem, we go to the research question. Then we also, in the same process, we get the research synthesis statement, like that. So then it should also, being focused, we said it should be focused and researchable. So when we come to the researchable part, that question should be answerable using, because there are two parts here, focused and researchable. So focused should focus on a single topic and problem. Then researchable should be answerable using primary or secondary data, or both. So you must be able to find an answer by collecting quantitative or qualitative or both types of data, or both data types, either by reading scholarly sources on that topic to develop an argument. And if such data is impossible to access, then you will have to rethink your research question and ask something more concrete than what you have. Then that question does not have to ask for a subjective value judgment. Like, you should avoid subjective words like good, bad, better, and worse, such words, as these do not give clear criteria for answering the question. So if your question is evaluating something, use terms with more measurable definitions. Instead of saying, is X or Y a better policy? X are used as variables. Is X or Y a better policy? Instead, to avoid that word better, you can instead say, how effective are X and Y policies at reducing rates of Z? So something like that can be better. And then second, that your question should be feasible and specific. Your research question should be feasible and specific. So feasible in a way that it should be answerable within practical constraints. So you should make sure you have enough time and resources to do the research required to answer the question. So if you think you might struggle to gain access to enough data, then you consider narrowing down the question to be more specific. And then your question should use specific, well-defined concepts. So all the terms you use in your research question should have clear meanings. So avoid vague language and broad ideas. and be clear about what, who, where, and when your question addresses. For example, instead of having such a question, what effects does social media have on people's minds? So you see that it may seem simple, but it isn't actually, because first of all, social media, you've 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 I don't know, like social media itself, it contains a lot. There is Facebook, there is what, so you're not specific in one or the other. And then when it comes to people's minds, still you've not specified. There are very many categories of people. There are adults, youth, you get. So you should be specific. So you can say, what effect does daily use of Twitter have on the attention span of under 16s? So you see that you're concentrating on a certain social media platform, its usage, like how it is used like daily, and then what is it affecting. So you're looking like this one is more specific than compared to the first one. um, and still, the other thing you have to note is that your question does not have to ask for a conclusive solution, policy, or course of action. You should not ask for a conclusive solution, because research is about informing, not instructing. So even if your project is focused on a practical problem, it should aim to improve understanding and suggest possibilities rather than asking for a ready-made solution. What do I mean by this? For example, let's give an example of this question, like, what should the government do about low voter turnout? So that can't be a strong research question. What should the government do? So meaning, you note this statement, what should the government do? So meaning what you're giving is final. It is like conclusive. It is what should be done. You get, what should the government do? So meaning it is what should be done. So research is not supposed to be like that. It should be informative. It should suggest possibilities. So instead you can say, what are the most effective communication strategies for increasing voter turnout among under 30s? So you're looking at the effective communication strategies for increasing. So you're suggesting strategies. You're suggesting what can be done, not giving conclusive solution to something. So that is the second. Then the third, your research question should be complex and arguable. So meaning when you come to complex, the question, you should not have a kind of question that can be answered. Like your question cannot be, you should have a question that cannot be answered with yes or no. So closed yes or no questions are too simple to work as a good research question. They do not provide enough scope for investigation and discussion. For example, questions like, has there been an increase in homelessness in Uganda in the past 10 years? So the answer to that question is either yes or no. So such a question is not a good research question because it doesn't provide enough scope for investigation. So instead of putting it that way, you can put it this way. How have economic and political factors affected patterns of homelessness in Uganda over the past 10 years? So your question is, it is what? It is complex enough compared to the other way of putting it. Then your question, I should select a question that cannot be answered with easily found facts and figures. So your question should not be easily answered. Should not be answered with easily found facts and figures. What do I mean? If you, let's say you have a question, if you can answer the question through a Google search or by reading a single book or article, then it is probably not complex enough. So a good research question requires original data, synthesis of multiple sources, interpretation, and argument to provide an answer. So it should, your question should be complex enough. You get, something like that. Not a question that you can just answer within a single Google search. That is not a good research question. It does not provide room for argument or interpretation and more. So then the other thing is that Your question should provide the scope for debate and deliberation. So the answer to the question should not just be a simple statement of fact. There needs to be a space for you to discuss and interpret what you have found. So this is especially important in an essay or research paper, where the answer to your question often takes the form of an argumentative synthesis statement, something like that. Like we looked at the synthesis, we looked at a synthesis statement and what it is. Anyway, in simple terms, the synthesis statement, like we looked earlier, a synthesis statement, how to come up with a synthesis statement, we looked at it, but just to put more light, a synthesis statement can just be a statement of your research problem. Like, because from the research problem you get the research question, but then the research question is a question, but then a synthesis statement can be like the example we looked at in that when we were looking at it in the previous video. We observed that a synthesis statement can be like the write-up your research problem, but when it is more specific, like having specified your research problem, you write a statement out of it. So that statement, yeah, that's how you can actually come up with a synthesis statement, so you don't have to be confused about that. Then the fourth thing, that your question should be relevant and original. So relevant in a way that it addresses a problem relevant to your field or discipline. So the research question should be developed based on initial reading around your topic, and it should focus on addressing a problem or gap in the existing knowledge, so it should be useful. So then it should contribute to a topical your question should contribute to a topical, social, or academic debate. Like, the question should aim to contribute to an existing debate, ideally one that is current in your field or in society at large. So it should produce knowledge that future researchers or practitioners can build on. So whichever way your question is, it should contribute to something. And then it should be original in a way that it should not be something that has not already, it should be something that has not already been answered. So it should be original, not something that has been answered. So you don't have to ask something groundbreaking that nobody has ever thought of before, but the question should have some aspect of originality. For example, by focusing on a specific location or taking a new angle on a long-running debate. So whereby you're looking at something that's not very new, but something that is not still like not something that is not known. So something like that. So that is it. So you've come to the end of that is subtopic, the fourth subtopic. So by this time, according to the videos under this topic, you should have learned how to come up with a research problem. At least you looked at that. Then, having come up with a research problem, you should know how to come up with a research question. We looked at how to come up with a good and strong research question, then how to come up with a synthesis statement. Like I've told you, a synthesis statement can also be a statement of your specific research problem, because when you look at getting a research problem, you get it from a broad topic, you get a research problem which should be specific, then you can generate into a synthesis statement that your research aims to solve. So things like that. Hope the sessions have been very clear for you to understand. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned. Next video shall be looking at another thing, that will be the fifth subtopic, and that will be how to create a research design. So stay tuned and subscribe for more content. Thank you.